gentlemen, turn your speakers up. It's time for the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast. A podcast discussing all things AEW and WWE. Oh, yeah! Let's meet the hosts. First, a man hailing from the hub city in Indiana. He goes by @2SweetKyle on Twitter. The host, Kyle Gagliardi. And your co-host, hailing from the valley of Lake Tahoe. He goes by @JimTuck89 on Twitter. Jim Tucker. And last but not least, hailing from the cornfield somewhere in Indiana, the full-time part-timer, Ian Garavaglia. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram @PodOnTheMark.
What is going on, everyone? You're listening to the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast, hosted by the Marks, for the Marks, and I am your host, the returning Mr. OTM, Kyle Gagliardi, and my co-host is my good friend, Ian Garavaglia. What's up, dog?
What's up, dog? How'd you enjoy your week off? I know you had a big week in Las Vegas. We don't have to talk about the Vegas part of it, but how was having some time off?
So it's a little different having time off when you're not getting sleep. It's not really a vacation, in my opinion. You know, as you stated, I was in Las Vegas for a couple days. Lost a couple $100, but that's going to happen. You know, that's why they call it gambling, Ian.
True. That is true. You put money up, might not get it back. But I am feeling great. Thanks for asking.
I did my best. Thanks.
Right before we went live, the the old Chicago Cubs just took the lead in the second inning. So happy opening day to those who celebrate. I know you had a great opening day as a Cardinals fan. I'm glad you are repping them in the background there, and along with the Packers back there. So it's good. Glad we're having fun.
Is it football season yet? Because
no,
I'm more optimistic about these guys than I am those guys. And if you can't see what I'm pointing at my Packers and my Cardinals stuff. But also look at this new shiny toy I got over here.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that? I got the new white IC title.
How much did it cost?
It was on sale for $300.
Oh my God! Well, it can't be as bad. It can't be as bad as the MLB ones because I'm pretty sure they were $550. Saw the Cubs one on the Chicago show, which we're going to talk about. Yeah, not good. CM Punk was holding it over his shoulder in the background. $550, and I'm not. That's not going to happen.
I would only contemplate that purchase if my team actually won the championship. Then buying it would make a lot of sense wearing that belt. But I'm going to be honest with you. I don't see the Cubs winning the World Series this year, so you won't have to worry about that.
Hey, we're beating last year's World Series champ. So anyway, we can move on.
Whatever gets you
Wrestling.
going. The Wrestling Bros acknowledging the final boss, Mr. OTM. Wrestling Bros, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it as always. And appreciate the Wrestling Junkies for filling in my absence last week for episode 187. A fantastic conversation, but an unfortunate MVM as, you know, I guess we could say the first son of the Wrestling Junkies podcast, Bryce Cannon, is the MVM for OTM. How did we let that happen, Ian? What's going on here?
Listen, so what really happened was not a lot of comments last week. However, there was one guy, I'm going to be honest, I'm putting the fans on blast because did not have a lot of people tuning in, but Bryce Cannon had the surprise entrance out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Proceeded to talk shit about OTM's favorite wrestler. I mean, I think it's we could say that, right? At least independent wrestler.
You know, I'm not going to say we have a favorite because Miss Kate joined our show as well, and we enjoy Miss Kate, so...
Yeah.
You know, can't say I agree with you there, but Trevor Outlaw is definitely in the top 3.
Yeah, so he started talking trash about Trevor Outlaw, which is at least my guy. That's my guy, my go-to guy. And I tried to defend him, but Bryce Cannon kept throwing shots. And, I didn't really think about it because the rules are for the MVM, the more comments and the more meaningful comments that spark discussion, which he actually sparked me to try to cut a promo, with my voice cracking as well. Yeah,
so that puberty, by the way.
Thank you. I did hit it last week. I'm glad everyone was there. Was captured live. Can listen back. Yeah. It was eventful, and I'm excited because he's not returning. It's not going to happen this week. There's no shot. He is a pussy. We will have a new MVM this week.
We might, and it might be Dirk Vogus who's asking to be acknowledged. You know what, Dirk? I will acknowledge the fact that you are about to retire. I spoke to your son at Monday Night Raw.
Oh, yeah.
So congrats on the early retirement. I know you still got a couple more weeks to go. So shout out to Dirk. He'll be joining my father and my mother in retirement. So it seems to be a common trend. But apparently we got 48 people watching live right now. I don't believe if that's accurate, but if it is, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. We are only 13 subscribers away from 300, a big number for us. We've been going since 2018. It would be greatly appreciated. And of course, check out the great merch that we have to offer. You see the sweatshirt I'm wearing right now. It is available at the onthemarkwrestlingpodcast.com. But a little hint for you guys, next week it'll be cheaper. It's WrestleMania week. We're going to run a code. So if you want to wait until next week, go ahead and do so. But if you want to pay full price and support the show, Ian, you can go to the onthemarkwrestlingpodcast.com right now. Tell them a little bit about the other items we have on the shop.
We got a Bryan Danielson appreciation shirt. Obviously, that has always been a go-to. As long as he is in AEW, that shirt will be on the website. As soon as he's gone and he retires within the year, that's what I'm saying. That's my guess. But that shirt will probably be off the website right away. So get it while you can.
We can always appreciate. We can also always appreciate Bryan Danielson, even in retirement.
Okay. I think that's a fair point. I differ, but you could also
run the site.
Yeah, true. You could also get an honorary mark based off the honorary Ooze shirt, which is our number one seller, I think, still to this day. So get it while it lasts, because I mean it's going to last forever because we have an unlimited supply. We don't have like a room full of the shirts, so get them all you can.
I don't know who's making the shirts, but somebody's making them for us, and we appreciate those people that are making them for us. And we appreciate you if you do purchase any of our merchandise. And don't forget to check out all the good stuff happening at the Main Event Wrestling Network on the socials at @mainevent_net. We have a new edition just this week from Chicago, Illinois. It is Tino's time. Tino is officially a part of the Main Event Wrestling Network. Very excited to have him a part of this brand. A huge following already right now, Ian, and he is almost live every single day, almost every single hour. So that's a big get for the network.
It's another trooper, and he may not agree with all of our takes, and we might not agree with all of his takes, but that's exactly what we want in the Main Event Wrestling Network. We have a lot of variety, a lot of different styles of podcasting, a lot of different styles of live streaming. So make sure you check out Tino's time, because it is always Tino's time.
It is always Tino's time, especially at the Main Event Wrestling Network, and the Wrestling Bros are sharing their congratulations as well to their guy, Tino. Dirk Vogus says, we want blood. Well, you definitely got blood this Monday live from the Allstate Arena in Rosemont, Illinois. I was in attendance for it, and I got to be honest with you, Ian. I wasn't too excited going into it just because I was still catching up on sleep from my trip to Las Vegas. But once I got into the arena, I saw how packed it was. You noticed that the stage was a little bit different. A similar vibe to it was at War Games in November at the Allstate Arena. Over 15,000 people live in attendance there in Chicago. Before I talk about my experience, talk to me a little bit about how the TV audience came across to you as the viewer. Did it feel like a big time, energy in Chicago?
Okay, I mean, it's kind of a weird point to ask that with the state of WWE at the moment, because it didn't feel any different than what we've been getting with the weekly television, which is a good thing. That's not me shitting volumes, on. Yeah, literally. Everybody was locked in, which was awesome. Like, I was genuinely entertained for those 3 hours. I'm going to flip this on you. Yeah. We could get into the card, because I kind of want to ask about what the experience was like in the arena, and then I'll kind of break it down how it felt after and outside of the arena at home.
I think the promo segments really helped a lot with this show. Like, it truly felt like the road to WrestleMania, as cliche as that sounds. My counterpoint to a lot of people's criticism is that, we barely got any wrestling on this show. It's not all about the in-ring wrestling. You got to set up these matches to make the wrestling at these big shows mean more. And that's exactly what they accomplished here. Now, Chicago crowds are always high energy, as you know. You've been a part of a few of them. This just felt like a normal Chicago crowd to me, but when we got what we got in the opening segment, it got taken to a completely different level. And of course, that being The Rock confronting Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes came out to address what happened on last week's SmackDown as he was confronting Roman Reigns. And as you saw on SmackDown, Ian, Roman wasn't alone and neither was Cody. But as we all were pointing towards that WrestleMania 40 sign, you heard, "If you smell..." The roof came off the place. And the thing that I love the most about this, Ian, I think you're going to agree with me, is the fact that this was not announced. It was not rumored. Nobody was talking about it. It was a genuine surprise. And that's just something you don't see nowadays.
Yeah, the really big selling point of it, I mean, obviously, we'll get into the promo, but the best part about it is the main selling point for that show is CM Punk. He's coming to Chicago. He's going to speak. He's going to have a microphone. That's what everybody was excited for. The fact we got that confrontation, I mean, it was one of those times where you're just kind of glued to your screen and you're just watching. You're watching for anything.
They didn't say anything.
No.
They just stood there for 3 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. That's what kept me glued. I was waiting for somebody to pick up a mic because just before, Cody had thrown down the microphone, and I was fully expecting him to pick it up and just talk to him. But then we had the whisper in the ear. That was the cliffhanger. And obviously we got the payout later on in the show, but it kept everybody in tune on what was going on. Got some backstage moments of, hey, what did The Rock say? They played it out perfectly. It was a perfect segment. And they didn't have to say a word to each other.
Exactly. And I mean, that's how you open up a Monday Night Raw right there. I get the criticism that we've been seeing a lot of is that the build feels more like Cody and Rock than it does Cody versus Roman. But at the end of the day, Cody is facing The Rock in that tag team match night 1. So their paths are going to cross. And there's a reason The Rock's called the final boss. So if you're going to get through Roman, you got to get through The Rock as well.
I will say this. So for the video game players out there, like for the PvE, like I guess like top down, like Skyrim kind of people, the final boss is they always have that henchman. They always have that bodyguard. And that's what The Rock gives me. I don't understand the argument of we're trying to sell Cody versus Roman. That's already been sold. We know what's happening and we're excited for it no matter what. Now we're trying to understand why Rock is defending Roman. Roman doesn't need to be a part of these segments at all. No. This is all selling night 1, and I'm completely hooked. And the Roman versus Cody story still makes sense because honestly, Cody's story has nothing to do with Roman. Never had in the first place.
It's about the title.
It's about that title. That is it. As long as that title is around around his waist, the story's already there. It's always there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And Wrestling Bros asked, how was it seeing it on the Titantron at the end of Raw? Honestly, for the main event, me and Vogus ended up going up to, so like we were in the upper section, and there was actually a little bar up there where you could just watch and stand there. You know, it got a little crowded, and, you know, I'm a little bit of a gags rant here. You know, wrestling fans are fickle. I've said it once, and I'll say it again, but, you know, when I go to wrestling shows, and you know this, Ian, because you've attended multiple with me, I get into the atmosphere. I chant. I cheer mainly for the good guy, and I boo the bad guy. So The Rock does come out. I start chanting, Rocky sucks. I don't mean that deep down. I know The Rock is on my Mount Rushmore. This tool bag next to me with this girlfriend that doesn't know shit about wrestling goes, anybody that chants Rocky sucks doesn't watch wrestling or just started watching wrestling last year. Motherfucker,
what?
It's called playing into the show. Don't be a mark and just say, oh, you shouldn't be doing this. Fuck you. I'll do what I want. Isn't that stupid?
That's the most bass-ackwards thing I've ever heard in my life. No, we have been watching. That's why we're booing.
Exactly.
What?
Exactly. And then he was also the same guy going, oh, Stardust was better than this Cody Rhodes.
Okay, no, that's the attention seeker of a mark right there.
So
that's what
I acknowledged him one time, and then I just ignored him the rest of the show. And then I just figured, you know what? maybe we need some space from these guys. And the Great Brown Hope is in the chat. Main Event Wrestling Network in the house. What's going on? He will be a part of the Main Event Mixer happening this Saturday morning before Stand and Deliver. And he also goes shaking my head. What a mark. What a mark indeed.
Yeah.
Brett's got some comments, though. He said The Rock has always been inserted into random storylines in his returns to the WWE. Sometimes it doesn't always make sense, but they end up making it work. And he ended up making it work here for sure.
It started to make sense at that press conference.
Guy was probably wearing a Hogan shirt. I don't know what he was wearing. I have no idea. Eric Douglas goes on to say Steph DeLander's back in TNA. That's interesting. Neither of us watch TNA, but good for her. And she has become the number one contender. I didn't mean that in a negative way, and I know you're laughing.
I know.
I do. I'm just letting them know we do not watch TNA. Wrestling Bros. I was at the show. That show, Eric. Oh, good, nice. Wrestling Bros. He did say he was at the taping for Impact or TNA. So that's cool that he got to see that go down. But yeah, anything else from this opening segment? Obviously, I don't want to touch on what happened at the end of the show. We're gonna get there.
No, I think we touched all bases. I just want to reiterate. I mean, that's what kept me hooked throughout the entire show. I genuinely thought they were going to start off the show with CM Punk, like the normal thing.
Same.
We know CM Punk's there, so let's start him off, get him hot.
Right.
But we're going to get to a segment in a bit here. So yeah, no, nothing.
Yeah, all right. I don't have anything else to add because, the hits just keep on coming. When Ricochet defeated JD McDonough in a match that I was surprised that got the amount of time that it did get, but I think there's some good signs and good vibes going on with Ricochet right now. He's not only just being featured weekly, but he's getting wins. And granted, it's against JD McDonough, who has been presented as basically the jobber of the Judgment Day. But regardless, Ian, these two had a really good match on Monday Night Raw. What did you think about this one?
I just want to point really quick. So you said it was only against JD McDonough. I disagree. I mean, and you had and Dom. Dom was out there. That's a 2-on-1 basically. That's how I took it. And this is building credibility to Ricochet. Although this is some mid-card match, just throw it out there. We've had the storyline with Ricochet defeating all the Judgment Day people, but this is building some storyline for Ricochet. So we're getting what we wanted with Ricochet in the first place. We know how good he is.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to speak on the microphone. He's just doing what he does best, and that's in the ring. And it also even boosted JD McDonough because, I mean, it takes two to tango, and that was a really good match.
JD McDonough might be one of the best sellers that the WWE has right now.
Dolph Ziggler.
The guy makes everything believable. Yes, a great comp right there. And Wrestling Bros bring up an interesting comment. I think they're setting Ricochet up for something big in the future. Would you agree with that?
I was going to say, now that I read that, would not be surprised if Ricochet is one of those driving forces that splits up Judgment Day.
I think that split is coming.
It is. Like, you could feel it.
Maybe Mania. Because what if Judgment Day lose their titles in the tag team match? I think Mommy loses.
I think that's too early. I think they still have a lot of steam behind them. It all comes down to that briefcase and what happens with the briefcase.
What are they? Was it even on TV? I didn't even notice it when Priest was in the clubhouse.
I don't think it was, but I want to say that's intentional. I want them. I think I have trust in Triple H right now. I have a feeling there's gonna be another WrestleMania heist. Because there is one match that's up in the air on who we want that title to be on.
Gunther match?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. Save it for next week.
Okay.
Save it for next week. Next week will be our WrestleMania preview show. We will be joined by our former co-host, Erica Marini. Very excited for that. And hopefully we can get Tuck back. We haven't had Tuck for about a month now. Yes, he's still a part of OTM, people, so stop asking.
He's on the IL.
Yeah, we're just putting him on the back burner for now. It's going to be a great comeback. I do want to bring up this comment. It's not in relation to the match, but Wrestling Bros went on to also say that they are making Roman feel like the background character, but I think that's a good thing, and I do think that is a nice little wrinkle to this story.
Again, I don't see Roman as a background character. He's still the main guy. He's kind of the kingpin moving all the pieces right now. And that could just be me. I know I've heard a lot about this feels like Rock versus Cody.
Yeah.
It still doesn't to me. It still feels like Roman is throwing Rock out as a distraction or a shield, basically. Pun not intended.
I was gonna say, I see what you did there. Believe in the Shield, always and forever. Yeah, that's another interesting dynamic with the Judgment Day too. The Wrestling Bros brought up the whole Andrade situation. It seems like they are trying to recruit Andrade, which I didn't have this on the outline as well, but Andrade did have a match on Monday Night Raw, and he did show off a new finisher that I thought was pretty solid. You
didn't feel like it on TV. I'm glad you brought it up because it did not feel like it on TV. They mentioned it, but Michael Cole sold it like it was, I think this is a new finisher. Let's see what he does with it.
Maybe Cole didn't know it was going to happen.
It was awkward. It was very awkward. I'm worried about Andrade already. I'm not going to lie. I did call it in the beginning when he did debut. I said, this is a big talent or a pool of talent. He could get lost very quickly. And honestly, I feel like he's getting lost already. I know there's time and I know it's really early, but it doesn't feel special at all.
That was going to be my counterpoint, was that you got to give it a chance, bro.
Yeah, I agree.
It's been what, a month or two that he's actually been on TV. I know they signed him a little bit ago, but the Wrestling Bros went on to say that it felt like a botch. And Great Brown Hope said, Michael Cole is whack. His best insult for Dom is a big bag of trash. Hey, put some respect on Michael Cole's name, the voice of our generation.
Amen.
I'm not going to agree with you there, my friend. It was an awkward moment for Cole on commentary. So Brett picked up on that as well. Obviously, I didn't pick up on that because I didn't get commentary in my seats. But I thought his overall presentation, the entrance and everything has been very good. It's just, this is the story for Andrade right now, is with the tease with the Judgment Day.
Yeah, but okay, I will. Okay, sorry. Before we get to that, Andrade is on the top of my mind now that we're talking about it because it's pissing me off already. The entrance on TV, we didn't understand what the fuck was going on with the entrance.
They cut it off.
Yeah. We heard the music.
In person, yeah.
The music came on. No one knew what the music was. We had no idea whose entrance it was until we saw Andrade walk into the ring.
Right. They botched that entrance a little bit because trust me, it was awkward for us even in the stadium. You know, I was like, why did we just get 2 seconds of his entrance and then go right to commercial?
Oh, they cut off the entrance?
Yeah, they cut off the entrance, and then when they came back from commercial, he was climbing the steps, and then they played the music again.
Oh.
A little behind the curtain for you there. If you've never been to a WWE show live, it was a weird entrance song.
His AEW one was better. That says a lot.
His WWE one, the first one, where he's just El Idolo.
At least you knew who was coming out.
Yeah, like that. They did that at the Rumble too. They played El Idolo when the music hit.
Yeah,
they should keep that so nobody knows what this generic bullshit is. Okay, like the music is just terrible right now. The WWE. That's another.
Yeah, it is. It's all unrecognizable.
Yeah, for sure. But you know what was very good was the CM Punk appearance in Chicago, of course. That's what really sold the tickets going into this Monday Night Raw. And, of course, it was going to be interrupted by Drew and interrupted by the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins. But we got a very interesting war of words here. A little off the cuff. He who shall not be named, VKM is his initials, was, referred to in this promo. You had CM Punk talking about a man in a skirt, and Drew went on to say, hey, you're going to get canceled for something like that in 2024, which was hilarious. It wasn't just Punk that was connecting on the microphone. It was Drew. It was Seth as well. And we talk about it all the time, Ian. Realism in professional wrestling is where you get the best stuff. This was one of the most entertaining promo segments I think we've gotten in recent history.
Yeah, the key word, entertaining. It didn't need to make sense. I mean, it made sense, but even if they went off the cuff and were just making fun of each other for the skirts or whatever it was.
Basically was what they were doing.
It was hilarious. I was laughing. And I mean, this isn't a blood feud. This is there's some hate between all of us, but this is not I will, break your neck kind of feud. It was fun. When Drew McIntyre sat in commentary, played to his character perfectly. I mean, especially if you're on Twitter and seeing what he's been doing on Twitter and talking about on Twitter. And CM Punk played into it well. There are a few times it felt like CM Punk was going a little way too off script and trying to expose Drew.
That's CM Punk. That's the one we know and love, is when he goes off script. And like Brett's saying, creative freedom at its finest. Just
Yeah.
let the superstars be superstars. You know, you hit a couple bullet points, that's fine, but you see it right there and then. I guarantee you half of that shit that they said was not scripted.
Oh, no, I guarantee you 95% of it wasn't scripted. Oh, Papa
Even Punk's
H.
rebuttal, where he was like, I didn't need to put another guy's face on my T-shirt to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's we needed that CM Punk in AEW, and we never got that.
I agree. I want that CM Punk back. But my only rebuttal to that is Drew McIntyre is getting to a point that the crowd is behind him again. He's a heel.
Oh, I want him to beat Seth.
People love him. And I hate when he gets exposed. Like when he took off the shirt. That was the only weird part about it. Yeah. He had a shirt, took off the shirt, had another one under it. It felt like he had something to say to really sell the other shirt coming off. But when CM Punk kept trying to talk over him, Drew ended up just taking off the shirt, throwing it away, and not saying a word. And it felt really awkward. That was my biggest issue. And I don't want Punk to take away from the rising. I mean, he's kind of a rising star in Drew right now. He hasn't been at this height where you want him to have the title besides the COVID season.
Yeah. I mean, he was the face of the company in 2020, but since then he's kind of just been battling back. But realistically, when you look at just Drew and Seth, do I want the guy that's actually making valid points, is funny, making memes on X to win? Or do I want the guy that's dressed outlandishly, laughs all the time, and has people sing their songs?
No.
I want Drew to win. Come on. And that's the only issue I have. But regardless, everybody gets over in this kind of segment because everybody got their jabs in. Everybody made valid points. And it's also setting up stuff for the future because we know Drew versus Seth is what we are getting at WrestleMania. But now we also know that CM Punk is going to be on commentary for that match. Do you think that is the perfect way to use CM Punk at WrestleMania?
I would say so, yes. Because, as a host, does it make sense? Like I talked about it last week, that doesn't make sense for a CM Punk that we know that he's an anti-authority guy. He's not going to follow the rules of hosting a show. Yep. That doesn't make any sense. In the ring doesn't make any sense as a referee because he's going to be impartial. Yeah.
Yeah, but he kind of hates both guys, so maybe not.
That is true. But I think that would play into the match when I think this should just be a straight up match. I really do. Yeah. Which that's where I lean most of the time anyway. But on commentary is perfect because it keeps you in mind that CM Punk is still within this feud somehow. And that he will be brought back up later. He hates Seth Rollins. He's going to talk about his hate towards Seth Rollins. He's going to talk about why he despises Drew McIntyre. So, yes, I would say it is the perfect slot for him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is just all around another great segment here on Monday Night Raw. And I think Punk on commentary is definitely the best spot for him at WrestleMania 40. Because if you're not going to get him wrestling, you know what really put him on the map was him with a microphone. You put him on the microphone there, it's going to be money. But I think Drew definitely has to win that match clean and make a statement. Honestly, I don't know how you feel about it. I'd love for Drew to squash Seth. Seth maybe takes the pinfall night one, fucking beat his ass. Sorry for the language. Sorry for the cussing.
You know what's funny about that? I was about to say the same exact thing. If this is a squash match, it's not a main event. It could open up the show. That could set the tone for the show for probably night one, I'd imagine. Probably going to be on night one.
It's actually announced for night two.
Night two.
Ooh. Yeah. Because they have the tag match night one. You can't
do true.
He can't do double duty.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. We got a lot of comments here, so let's run to the comments section. Ryan Matthews said, Raw was awesome. He was also there in attendance. How's it going, guys? It's going well, Ryan. Thanks for stopping by. Chris is acknowledging the podcast dad, acknowledging my beautiful white Intercontinental Championship right behind me. Of course, I had to put that baby on its pedestal. Alejandro, the Great Brown Hope, says Drew deserves the win. Can't wait for him to rub it in Punk's face the Raw after Mania. That's a good point, too. Yeah. We probably will get that, won't we, Ian?
Yeah, I completely agree.
Wrestling Brothers, they said Seth and Punk are getting along backstage, apparently. Hey, it's still real to me. They hate each other. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. They're supposed to dislike. I'm sure they are getting along.
No, yeah.
Ryan says the perfect Mania outcome is having Priest cash in after Punk cost McIntyre his moment. Okay, so that's a different way of looking at it. What do you think about Ryan's fantasy booking here?
Saving it for next week. You told me to do that.
Okay. Come back next week, Ryan Matthews, and we will discuss that point right there. Wrestling Bro said Drew should win, and then we get his history of an extension.
His story of an
his
extension.
story of an extension. Yeah, for sure. I think he's definitely going to get the bag here soon. Drew versus Punk at SummerSlam, please and thank you. We absolutely agree with you, Podcast Dad. That is the move.
Good job, Dad.
Good job, Dad. Brett goes, Punk on commentary is the best option. Let the match play out the way it should, and let Punk versus whoever feud build after. Absolutely, Brett. Greg Brown Hope goes on to say Drew kills Seth with a Claymore right off the bat. 1, 2, 3. Similar to what Sheamus did to Daniel Bryan about 10 years ago, Ian.
Okay, this is... No, I want to say this now. I like this because my fantasy booking brain's going already. So the first night 1 main event, Seth gets his ass murdered. Just absolutely killed. Seth's not going to have a good weekend in my eyes.
No, he's not.
I think he gets absolutely destroyed. He comes into the Drew McIntyre match. He's actually hurt. I would say that. I would say he's being sold to be hurt. Like he has like a torn muscle or something is what they tell us. But he's still going to fight for us because he's our champ. And then boom. Oh, right what Alejandro just said. Drew just murders him with a Claymore right off the bat, wins the title. Oh, I love it. Uh-oh, I think we lost Gags. Gags might be frozen. Oh, there he is.
We're coming back, I think. Are we good?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, I don't know why it cuts out like that. I have it plugged in and whatnot, so whatever. That's weird. Wrestling Bro said Seth needs some time off anyway. Yes, he does. I mean, he's been the workhorse for this company, right?
For about, I don't know, 6 months ago, we were saying that he needs to lose the title so he gets some time off.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Let Seth. Who the hell is Seth? Let Seth be a dad. By the way, speaking of Seth and his family, I just started reading The Man, Becky Lynch, and it's a phenomenal read to start, so I highly recommend anybody to do so. And that's big coming from me, Ian, because I haven't purchased a book in a decade.
You are dumb. Oh, no,
well,
yeah, you haven't
purchased it in a while. That's not what that means.
Oh, yeah.
No,
you haven't had a book in a while. Yeah.
You know what? Don't compare me to that jamoke that you have on your show, Chris. He said, looks like Mr. Cincinnati. We got Mr. Cincinnati tagging me in tweets while I'm doing a podcast. He knows we're recording right now. He just made the list. It's a new championship, Ryan said. We need some freshness added to it somehow. Absolutely. Brett says, Seth loses both matches, takes off time to recoup, and comes back fresh for a mid-year Punk feud, barring Punk stays healthy. And that's a big barring right there.
I was about to say, this reminds me of like in the WWE games if you're playing My GM mode or whatever it's called, Punk has a stamina of about 10. He gets hurt and then has to stay off for 5 weeks, comes back, has another match because you're like, oh, this guy's still popular. Got to put him in a match. Gets hurt again. Keep cycling him through. Yeah. So that joke only makes sense for people that play the game. Anyway.
Fair enough. Let's move on to another great promo segment. This obviously involving Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley. Becky would end up coming out to interrupt Mommy and Dom. They have a little back and forth. Of course, it gets a little personal, because we got to take that next step. We need to get a little edgier. We're only 2 weeks away from WrestleMania 40. And Rhea makes a comment about Becky's daughter. And that's just something you don't do. And I love that she did because that brought out a different side of Becky Lynch that we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah. Also brought out a side of Rhea Ripley we needed going into this match. She has been a face in the eyes of the crowd. Sure, she does heelish stuff, but a crowd can't cheer on somebody bringing up Becky Lynch's daughter or child in front of everybody.
Let me, to go off of that douchebag that was sitting next to me. He was one of 2 people wutting while Becky was talking about her father passing away. Her father died of cancer, and there are fans chanting, "What? Shut your dumb mouth." I mean, I'm sorry, I just had to bring that up. But yeah. This is the Becky Lynch I want. I don't want the corny man Becky Lynch. I want people to get personal with her, and that's exactly what happened here.
Becky's, like most wrestlers, Becky is one of those wrestlers that are better on the chase. It's just simple. It's as simple as that. As soon as she became the man and was solidified as the man, as a double champ, especially when Becky 2 belts was a thing, that's when I fell off. I hated Becky 2 belts. I don't want to see her be a champion. I want to see her chase a title.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting back to that stage. I think this is that transition back over because she's eager to be back to what she once was, which is the chase.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with Chris, the podcast dad. You can get that t-shirt, hashtag stop the what chance at the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast.com. Ryan Matthews goes on to say the whole drug-free approach is killing Punk's in-ring persona. People his age use performance-enhancing drugs so he can live a little bit more in the ring. He also goes on to say that Becky getting emotional, as she should, added so much to that promo. Whether there's personal stuff behind the scenes or not, it added a much-needed flavor to this feud. And I couldn't have said it better myself, Ian.
Yeah.
Who
Nothing much to add.
needs to win more, Becky or Rhea? I think Becky needs to win more. Rhea's already established. Becky needs to get back on track. I'm not saying she's going to, but the question is, Ian, who needs this more? It's Becky Lynch.
I would agree that she needs it more, but honestly, a loss doesn't hurt her because again, she's still on the chase.
In
I don't.
kayfabe.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not going to spoil what I think happens during this match, but I think Becky won't be out of the chase if she loses this match. I don't think she's out of the question.
That's not a spoiler. Okay, that is not a spoiler. Arizona just took the lead, by the way. I got money on them, so that's good. We were talking about that before this, and now we are back. But I don't think I have anything else to talk about from here. Chris giving his pick. He says Rhea. Yeah, and Ryan Matthews also said Rhea needs to win. How many title defenses has she had against credible opponents? Not many. Not many.
Nia Jax is incredible.
Zoe Starks. Nia's there. Rhea needs to win with Seth losing the belt and Becky going on a book tour soon. She needs to be away from TV also.
My counter to that, Brown Hope, would be who's credible?
I mean,
Becky?
That's a subjective thing.
Yeah.
Know?
I mean, yeah, I guess that's fair. You got a Becky, you got a Liv.
Liv's credible.
Yeah, that's about it. Nia Jax. I think Nia Jax is. Right? I don't think so, since she's come back.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So, I don't know. I guess that's up for debate. But we got a couple more things for Raw, and then we're going to wrap things up because the Cubbies are on for Ian, and I am watching college basketball, and we have a lot for you next week. I will break it down at the end of the show for you guys. But one thing I do want to break down and discuss is the fact that Sami Zayn's road to WrestleMania hasn't been great. You know, a lot of times when a challenger to a title is heading into WrestleMania, they are stacking up wins. They have a lot of momentum behind them. But the story's a little different for Sami Zayn. And I'm curious what you think about this because a lot of people probably assumed Sami was going to beat Bronson Reed here, but he got distracted from Gunther. And it seems like Sami's focus is not 100% there right now, Ian.
I love everything about this. I love the backstage with Chad Gable. They hear us. That's the thing. That's the biggest thing I took away from the show this past Monday Night Raw. They hear us. They understand how much we love Chad Gable. They understand how much we wouldn't be opposed to having him face for the title. That's until Sami Zayn was made official. That was my biggest takeaway from this. Sami Zayn is not a dominating challenger that's rising up the ranks out of nowhere.
Right.
He is it's a Daniel Bryan type of situation. People will love him no matter what. He could get squashed, but the way the guy carries his promos is a guy that gets squashed. He doesn't look like a dominating figure. So losing against Reed, that makes sense. I mean, Bronson Reed's huge, and he's been on the rise.
He's actually big. I want to make sure it's big. It's not huge.
Big dude.
It's on the top. Big Bronson Reed, because we don't have Big Show anymore, so somebody's got to be big.
Well,
but I mean, I've gone on record saying I'm not a big Bronson Reed guy, but I think he's actually provided a lot of value to Monday Night Raw.
They're doing better with him because he's getting played as one of those like a great Khali kind of character that you have to be there to see it kind of thing.
It's a spectacle, is what
he's a spectacle. Yeah,
what you're saying.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Vogus asked a fair question because, you know, he basically just catches up on his own time. He's a busy man and whatnot. He asked, you know, how's the Bronson Reed thing going? I go, I think it's going better. I think we're on the right track with him. And and I agree with your statements with the Sami Zayn and Chad Gable of it all. It's a beautiful wrinkle into the story that gives more doubt to Sami Zayn as a character. And that's the story it's unique to just this title match. You know, a lot of matches we see being built are based off the same principle. This is completely different here with the Intercontinental Championship. And I think a lot of people, now that Sami is losing matches on the road to WrestleMania, are also doubting Sami Zayn. And I think that's perfect. We are buying into where we're like, there's no way this guy can beat Gunther, right? And I don't think he will.
It's the epitome. No, I don't think he will either. But it's the epitome of David versus Goliath. It works all the time and every single time. Again, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we were talking about that earlier with the Diamondbacks in baseball. They made the World Series, didn't win it, but they ended up getting to the World Series by beating against a bunch of good teams. Yeah. But you can't help but love Sami Zayn for his drive to be better. And I like the emotional connection. After Sami Zayn lost later in the show, he came back to confront Chad Gable. What are you talking about? Why can't I win this?
Right.
And then it ended up in a handshake. Be like, listen, dude, we're both underdogs. We understand what's going on, and we understand what mental fortitude it takes to take on a guy like Gunther, who's dominating.
Yeah.
I love it. It's keeping Chad Gable in the conversation while also keeping the emotional connection with Sami Zayn.
That's the point, Ian, is you're keeping Chad Gable there, which is another tall tale sign that Chad Gable is going to get his shot against Gunther. It's going to happen. Like that, there's a reason they're keeping Chad involved in this story, because I'm sure Chad Gable will be the next person right after Sami Zayn to get a crack at Gunther. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you agree with that too.
Completely agree.
You know what? No. People will find anything to complain about. I'm going to choose to enjoy it, and you are as well. But we have a few comments here. Chris says Indiana State sucks. Thoughts?
Okay. All right. Well, who lost?
Cincinnati.
Who's not playing anymore?
Cincinnati.
Who won Gag's money?
Indiana State. That's why I'm wearing my blue, baby.
Amen.
Wrestling Bros says they're setting up this weird Rocky and Creed storyline between Sami and Chad Gable. It's a good comp. Ryan Matthews says, holy crap, Chad Gable and Daniel Bryan comp is genius. Right on the money, Ian. There you go. Getting over with the fans there. Gunther versus Ivan Drago. Yeah, is Ivan Drago. Sorry. Yeah, that's a great comparison as well from the Wrestling Bros. Ryan says it's building two characters, the underdog in Sami and the unstoppable Gunther. And Chris goes on to say, how dare you go Phillies? And he does propose an interesting question. Heel turn from Gable. I could see it.
Interesting. I could see it either way.
He's getting more serious. There's no thank yous in training. Yeah. He's not even with Alpha Academy.
And he was wearing a suit. And in WWE, that's a heel waiting to happen.
Well, Cody Rhodes wears a suit. He's the biggest heel in the company, bro.
Well, he looks like a heel. He dresses like a heel.
Who am I? No,
Bully Ray?
Vince Russo, whatever the fuck.
Oh, yeah. Bro.
Yeah, bro, he's the biggest heel in the company because he wears suits. It says big words. I go, no, you're just stupid, Vince Russo. That's really what it comes down to. Ryan Matthews says, I would love Sami to beat Gunther somehow and then eventually introducing Gunther into a future feud with Cody as champion. I think eventually we are going to get Gunther versus Cody. There is Bash at the Berlin, guys, so stay tuned for that. Tell him, Ian. Tell him what time it is.
It's Tino's time.
There you go. Thank you. Fuck you. I got a nice quote there. It should have been me from Chris in the comment section. Absolutely. That's what the vibes we're getting right now. Attitude Era Part 2 featuring Chad Gable. Yeah, there you go, Ryan. So one last thing to talk about, and of course, it was the ending to Monday Night Raw. In the main event, we saw Jey Uso defeat Shinsuke Nakamura, but we did notice it ended about 8 minutes earlier than it usually would end. So that meant shenanigans were going to be coming. And I think it's safe to assume that The Rock whispered, I'm going to make you bleed, Cody. And that he did there in the final segment as he found Cody Rhodes, started beating him up backstage. It escalated to the outside where it was raining. It legit was pouring in Chicago our entire way home. That was a chef's kiss that you weren't probably expecting to happen there. But I think that added to it. And I'll tell you what, man. This Rock that we are getting right now is arguably the best Rock that we have ever seen. And he is old. Let's be honest. The Rock is an old man coming back part-time to work this program. But if there's anybody out there that was saying, The Rock shouldn't come back, he's a part-time guy stealing a moment, show them Monday Night Raw. Because what they accomplished there at the end, Ian, cinema. This is better than The Rock's movies. What he's doing here in pro
Well.
wrestling is better than The Rock's movies.
Coming from me, a very good movie critique, obviously. Yeah, that doesn't mean a lot, but I will. That doesn't take away from what The Rock is doing, because I agree this is one of the best iterations of The Rock. There was one tweet that popped up. It was all like 10 or whatever it is, 10 or 8 iterations of The Rock. A lot of people are saying the current Rock is the best, even better than Hollywood, even better than the 2000s. I mean, this is perfect. The guy hasn't wrestled yet, and he's still incredible. Because, I mean, he legitimately is one of the bosses of everybody in the WWE and the UFC. That guy hasn't even been touched yet, really. It's been mentioned. That's about it. But what they're doing with The Rock is perfect. I mean, the backstage thing, I will ask you this. At home, it felt awkward, but in a good way. Like, it was like, oh, God, this is happening.
That was the intent. Yeah.
Okay. Did it feel like that in the atmosphere of the crowd? Because it was silent. It was dead silent for me.
Like I said earlier, we started walking away during the final segment because I just said to myself, I'll end up watching this on DVR. Let's beat the traffic. So when I got back, watched it on DVR, I had the same views as you did for that segment. But, I mean, you got to give credit to Cody as well. I think he's playing his role perfectly as well. He took a very good beating. And The Rock just keeps on promising these things, and it becomes true, you know? Like he said to Mama Rhodes, I'm going to make your son bleed, and I'm going to put that blood on that belt. If you put that belt on eBay, it'd probably go for $1 million right now, just because that segment was that good. Like, legitimately, I think we experienced one of the best Monday Night Raws in the history of the WWE, and I don't think that's an exaggeration.
At least the ending of a Raw.
And the beginning. And you can't forget about the promo in the middle with Seth, Cody, all them, and Becky's. The promo work and storytelling has never been better.
It's gotten to a point that we are in the midst of the Triple H era. This is the epitome of what Triple H has been building. So, I mean, all of these stories, the title reigns, everything has been cooking since Triple H completely took over. And now it's all making sense, and it's starting to mash with the rest of the talent that we've been wanting to get pushed. I mean, like a Ricochet. The Judgment Day, just being in the Judgment Day, like with JD McDonough, he's like, I mean, on paper, he's a no-name. But the way Triple H has built Judgment Day, JD McDonough is a part of that. Now Ricochet is getting some, and I'm just using this as a storyline, like an example of a storyline. Now Ricochet is getting a push just being mentioned with the Judgment Day. And again, that's Triple H's era. He's been building this for so long, and it's all starting to pay off.
Yeah, it's a great time to be a wrestling fan, as Jim Tucker would say. I'm going to run to the comment section because a lot of people have stuff to say about it. Ryan Matthews says what The Rock is doing in the WWE has already topped the last 10 movies easily, so everybody's agreeing with us there. And he also asked, didn't reports say he's got more than one match on his current deal? Yes, I have read that he has more than one match, so I'm expecting either that we're going to get The Rock versus Cody at SummerSlam, or we might get The Rock versus Roman Reigns. I think there's obviously those two directions that they're going to go. Let's go. We got a couple more comments here. Great Brown Hope said, they brought out all the stars out, even if they didn't wrestle. That's a great point. The best moments on this show didn't even have to do with wrestling itself. Yeah,
absolutely. Like I said, it has to do a lot with kind of what they're doing with The Rock and the fact that they're making him a big deal. Rhea Ripley has been a big deal by not being in the ring, by just talking, by being a part of the Judgment Day.
And Becky made that a comment, too, about her not defending her title.
Yeah, and another thing, too, I want to bring this up just really quickly. The Judgment Day is still ruling Raw. I'm pretty sure I counted. I noticed this. Dom Mysterio was out there 3 separate times during Raw. And it didn't feel like it was forced. It's building a character without building a character by winning.
Yeah, no, for sure. He feels important just because he's always involved in everything the Judgment Day is doing. He really is the glue guy of the Judgment Day, and it's going to be interesting to see what direction they go once the Judgment Day does, eventually dissolve. But obviously that could be Andrade, could be a tag team of sorts with JD, who knows. And the Great Brown Hope, who has written, I believe, about Dirty Dom, said he's the chosen one. And that was not given by VKM. That was given by the Great Brown Hope. Just want to put that on the record. But yeah, overall, a fantastic Monday Night Raw. It was so good, we didn't need to talk about anything else this week. But before we get to our MVM, I want to give you a little rundown of what's to come here, because WrestleMania week is finally here next Monday. On Monday, I will be live with Tino's Time for the first half of Monday Night Raw, doing a live watch-along. So hopefully you can come by, join the stream, and talk with us about Monday Night Raw, as it will be live from Brooklyn with The Rock showing up on Monday Night Raw. So it should be a good one. I think I'm off on Tuesday, which is nice. I think I need an off day. But me and you will be joining our main event brothers, the Wrestling Junkies, Wednesday night. I believe that is going to be happening at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, so that's where you can catch us there. I think we're going to be talking about NXT Stand and Deliver on that show, and a little bit about WrestleMania. And then, of course, on Thursday, episode 189 of OTM, we're going to be joined by our former co-host, Erica Marini. Cannot wait for her to join us. We have a lot to get into. And then we have on Friday, nothing. And Saturday, we have a main event mixer happening for Stand and Deliver, and a main event mixer happening Sunday for a WrestleMania Night 1 recap. So a lot of good stuff coming up. Ian, I need a break. Just say something.
I'm excited. I haven't been a wrestling fan for that long and been watching weekly that long, but this WrestleMania season has been one of the most exciting, and I'm sure that's the common thought for a lot of people. But yeah, I'm excited. We have a lot of good moves for the Main Event Network. Again, as Tuck would say, it's a great time to be a wrestling fan.
It is, and the Wrestling Bros are going to be at Stand and Deliver in night 2 of Mania. I'm kind of curious why you're not going to night 1. I wonder if it has to do with financials, because I would understand that. It's very expensive WrestleMania weekend. But, dude, have fun. I'm excited for you. It was my first WrestleMania last year in LA, and it was the best time of my life. Great Brown Hope goes on to say, Main Event Wrestling Network, we out here. Yes, we are. Make sure you're following us at mainevent_net for all that good stuff. But, Ian, it is that point of the show. Man, we had some interesting competitors here this week for the MVM. Thank the wrestling gods Bryce Cannon's bitch ass was not here to retain his title. He was a fraud champion this entire time.
I called it.
Trevor Outlaw would never no-show OTM the following week. That just shows you his character.
You know, the best part about that, last week, as we crowned, I didn't crown him, by the way. I forced Mr. Cincinnati to call out his name, because obviously Mr. Cincinnati is going to suck up to him because he's a hometown guy. Yeah. I would never just cheer on a guy, even if it's a heel, just because he's in my hometown. I wouldn't.
Yeah, Brett, we got our own. We got the OTM junkies.
Amen.
In the chat, right? Bryce is a bitch. Let him know, Brett.
But again, I called out Bryce and I said, you won't even be here next week. You're going to lose the title next week. And what happened? Didn't even show his face.
Unbelievable. But you know who did show their face? The Great Brown Hope, Ryan Matthews, Brett Haskell, Chris Hoops, in the Wrestling Bros podcast. There were a lot of competitors this week, but we got ourselves a new MVM of OTM, and it goes to the Wrestling Bros podcast. This is their second reign as MVM. It was a tough decision, Ian, but well-deserved.
Well-deserved, yeah. A lot of good comments, a lot of good talking points that led to me going on a spiel, so that's always good in my books because I like talking.
Yeah.
Also, before we sign out, I just want to say this. Ryan said I also have money on Arizona. I have them in my bracket. I have them winning the whole thing. But he said, good luck tonight. Kyle, Ian, go Sycamores.
Sure. I mean, I don't really care about them anymore, but I'll say go Sycamores for you. MVM checking in two-time. Your dad's not happy, by the way. He said horse shit.
That's okay. He's never happy.
Jordan Kramer tuning in at the very last second. Honorary Mark checking in. Yeah, you're not the most valuable, Mark. That's for damn sure. But Jordan, you keep training Missa Kate. You're doing a fantastic job. Hashtag Missamania. Make sure you tweet that out and check out her stuff. Give her a follow as she is going to be in Philadelphia for WrestleMania week. Make sure you book Missa Kate. You will not regret it. That's for damn sure. One last comment here. We're going to pull up from the MVM. He said, great show, guys. And thank you. We appreciate it very much. Like I said, a lot of good stuff coming up here for OTM, for the Main Event Wrestling Network. So make sure you're following us at Pod on the Mark for all the info and updates. And thank you for listening to the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast.